I haven't decided how I'm going to title this video yet, as I usually record my videos and then title them after, but it's probably going to be something along the lines of the Bulls have finally turned a corner in their season. The reason I'm emphasizing that first, so I can explain, as I know a lot of people are going to come in here and say, dude, what are you talking about? The Bulls nearly blew a 27-point lead, and yes, that was bad. I was all but certain the Bulls were going to lose this game when I saw the Heat go on that 15-0 run, because we've seen it all too often this season. Bulls have these massive leads. They have a great first half, and everything goes out the window in the second half. They can't hit shots, they lose their way, they turn the ball over, they stop playing hard on defense. We have seen it way too many times this season. And the Bulls falling in the way they did looked identical to what we have seen them blow these big leads before. Like, I was full on preparing myself for another big rant video, a rant video we have seen all too often this season. But the reason I say have the Bulls turn a corner, which don't get me wrong is still premature of me to say, but the reason I say it is because tonight was different. Like, as disappointing as the Bulls played to allow the Heat back into the game, there is something to be said about not losing your composure, not panicking, about staying focused, resetting, getting stops, and despite losing all that momentum, coming back, taking care of business, and closing out the game. Like, the Heat cut the game down to 3 points at one point when the game was 93-90. But the Bulls effectively managed to put the game back up to the point where the Heat brought in players for garbage time in the final minutes. The Bulls quickly brought that lead of 3 points back up to 17. To me, that shows some maturity. Progress in the right direction when it comes to having the mental fortitude, the resiliency to withstand adversity, to display a semblance of urgency, something we haven't seen much from them at all this season. To me, that's progress. So yeah, maybe turning a corner on this season is probably a bit of a stretch when there are only 12 games left on the year and the Bulls are sitting 10th in the Eastern Conference, but still, I think there is something to be said about how the Bulls have been playing as of late, which I've talked about before. A new sense of energy, hustle, overall pace and flow of their offense, guys actually looking like they want to play together. It's a good sign. Obviously, too little too late when it's this late in the season to just now be figuring things out, but whatever. I'd rather see progress than this team just hitting rock bottom after rock bottom. The other thing I'll say as it relates to the Bulls almost blowing a 27-point lead, I was actually more surprised the Bulls came out in the manner that they did, on fire with their shooting, tenacious defense, moving well in transition, high-level ball movement. I thought for sure the Bulls were going to come out a little slow and lethargic after playing the second game of a back-to-back and coming off a game that went into double overtime last night. But the Bulls looked like the team that was actually coming off a few days rest, while the Heat looked like they just played in a battle last night. So, not excusing the Bulls for kind of falling asleep and taking their foot off the gas, but I guess I was kind of expecting them to lose steam at some point in this game, given guys like DeMar and Lavine played 52 minutes and 45 minutes respectively. These guys are professional athletes, but they're still human beings. Fatigue sets in. Still, Bulls should not have completely fallen apart like they did in the third quarter, regardless of fatigue. But it doesn't matter. They recovered and won the game. You want to hear an insane stat, which Matt Peck on CHGO called out? DeMar DeRozan, in the span of 48 hours, played 93 minutes of NBA basketball, scored 73 points on 25 for 40 shooting. That is just insane. A bit worrisome because you're talking about one of your oldest players on the team putting in that kind of run on the floor in a short time period. But DeRozan just continues to impress with his efficiency and scoring prowess. And what's funny is DeMar's been putting up more threes, doing what he can to help space the floor and not clogging up the paint or slowing down the offense with his heavy ISO style ball, and also being the playmaker we need him to be, because we saw him do it in San Antonio when he averaged 7 assists per game. Tonight, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals to go along with his 24 points. He was a team high plus 14 on the night. Another thing I'll add that I liked seeing from this game that we didn't see last night, balanced scoring. We needed guys off the bench to step up with how many minutes the starters put in against the Wolves. And really, it was the big three who dominated on the scoring front in that game. But then you look at the big three in this one. DeRozan, 24 points, Vucevic, 13, and Zach, 18. 55 points combined between the big three, compared to the 109 points they put up the other night against the Timberwolves. Instead, tonight, big games from guys like Patrick Beverley, Patrick Williams, and Coby White. Patrick Beverley was feeling it there in that first half when he just could not miss from three. He was getting the crowd into it. He was getting the team into it. I just love this guy's energy and the way he just plays for the love of the game. And you know that it also means so much more to him playing for the Bulls, the team he grew up watching as a kid. Pat Bev, 17 points, 5 for 10 from 3, 6 for 12 overall, was a plus 12 on the night. I know he got into foul trouble, but I was a little surprised he didn't get more minutes in the game with the way he was playing and the energy he was bringing, especially when the Bulls started falling apart there in the third quarter. And then Coby White, he got hot, especially when the team needed it in the most in the fourth quarter to create that separation and stop the Heat from going on that big run that brought them back into the game. Coby lit them up in the fourth and exploded for 18 points, shooting 4 for 8 from deep, 7 for 12 overall. And then Patrick Williams getting 33 minutes off the bench, 10 points, 2 for 4 from 3, 2 blocks and a steal. You know, you look at the Bulls' overall stat line, 17 for 34 from 3. That was the most efficient they've been from deep on that kind of volume anyway, because the Bulls don't take that many threes. 50% from 3. And you can't help but wonder, man, if we just had Lonzo Ball, who is such a good three-point shooter, how good this team could have been. Or not even just Lonzo, but if this roster could hit threes on a high volume, how much better they would be as a team with the talent level that they have. It's been the biggest thing we've talked about all year, the disconnect in the numbers. Bulls shoot significantly less threes than their opponent, which isn't going to win you many ball games in 2023, even if you are able to be efficient in your scoring on the inside. But anyway, Bulls overall, 56% shooting in this one. They did get worked yet again on the offensive glass, allowing the Heat to grab 14 offensive boards while they only tallied 5. Those second chance opportunities for the Heat is what enabled them to get back into the game. And while the Bulls also took care of the ball for the game as a whole, only 10 turnovers, the majority of those came in the second half when the Bulls started to fall apart. Most impressive stat to me though, well, aside from the three-point shooting, 34 assists as a team. You don't see that often from the Bulls, who aren't the best passing team in the NBA and play a lot of ISO basketball. That was what I loved seeing in this one. The ball movement. Everybody was touching the ball in most possessions, getting that extra pass to find the open man. I know I sound like a broken record, but the Bulls are just so much better as a unit when they're moving the ball around, operating quickly in transition, keeping up the pace, keeping the defense guessing and utilizing guys to their strengths. Anyway, great back-to-back win for the Bulls. They needed these wins to maintain their positioning in the playoffs, play-in standings, I should say. The Wizards and Pacers both lost as well, which gives the Bulls even more separation in the standings at 10th. Now 1.5 games ahead of both of those teams, but big tests are coming up. Back-to-back games against the Sixers, one in Philly, one in Chicago. A Sixers team that is on an absolute tear, having won 8 straight games, and of course, we know Joel Embiid has never lost to the Bulls in his entire career, but who knows, maybe the Bulls will accept the challenge head on and end that streak. Either way, I'll keep you guys posted. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.